There's a war going on, not one fought with weapons, but with wafers, silicon, and semiconductor chips. And at the center of this battle stands Intel, the once undisputed king of microchips, now fighting for survival in an industry it used to dominate. This month, Intel made headlines again by announcing a $32 billion expansion plan for new chip-making factories in Arizona and Ohio, its biggest U.S. investment in decades. The company's CEO, Pat Gelsinger, says this is more than business. It's about restoring America's technological independence. But behind the patriotic headlines lies a far deeper question. Can Intel actually pull it off? Because right now, the global chip race has never been fiercer, and the stakes have never been higher. Let's rewind for a second. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Intel was untouchable. Its Intel Inside logo was stamped on nearly every personal computer in America. But over time, the company fell behind. Competitors like Taiwan's TSMC and South Korea's Samsung took the lead with smaller, faster, more efficient chips. As Intel stumbled, America's dominance in chip manufacturing slipped away too. Today, the United States produces only about 12% of the world's semiconductors. Most of the rest come from Asia, and that's a dangerous dependence in a world where supply chains are under threat. So this new $32 billion bet is about more than profits. It's a bid to bring chip power back home. Intel's new facilities, nicknamed fabs, are part of a larger strategy backed by the U.S. CHIPS Act, a federal program offering over $50 billion in subsidies to encourage domestic production. The idea is simple. If America wants to lead in AI, defense, autonomous cars, and future tech, it needs to control the chips that power them. And that's where Intel steps in. But here's the twist. This comeback won't be easy. Intel's competitors aren't slowing down. TSMC, the world's leading chipmaker, is already building its own U.S. plant in Arizona. NVIDIA and AMD are designing new generations of AI chips at a breathtaking pace, and Apple has long ditched Intel entirely, designing its own processors. So can Intel really catch up, or is this too little, too late? Let's look at what makes this move both bold and risky. First, the technology gap. TSMC is already mass-producing 3-nanometer chips, the most advanced in the world. Intel, by contrast, is still racing to reach consistent 3-nanometer production by next year. Even a small delay could cost billions and push customers away. Second, the economics. Building a modern chip fab is insanely expensive. Each one costs over $10 billion and takes years to complete. Every machine, every clean room, every chemical process has to be perfect. And the smaller the chip, the harder it gets. Intel says it will use a mix of its own money, government subsidies, and partnerships with companies like Brookfield Infrastructure to finance the build-out. But even with funding, profitability remains uncertain. Third, the market shift. The chip industry is changing fast. 10 years ago, Intel's biggest customers were PC makers. Today, it's cloud giants like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. And they want chips designed specifically for AI workloads. NVIDIA dominates that space. Intel knows this, and that's why it's reinventing itself not just as a chip maker, but as a foundry. A company that manufactures chips for others. The goal is to compete head-to-head with TSMC and bring advanced production back to U.S. soil. But that means Intel has to do something it hasn't done in decades: convince others to trust it again. It's a reputation game now, and one mistake in chip production can destroy credibility overnight. Still, if Intel succeeds, the payoff could be historic. Think of what's at stake. Chips are the new oil, the foundation of everything digital. Without them, modern economies grind to a halt. The supply chain crisis of 2021 showed the world how fragile the system is. Car factories stopped. Smartphone launches were delayed. Even defense contractors struggled to source critical components. Now, imagine that happening during a global conflict, when the US is dependent on chips made halfway around the world. That's the nightmare scenario policymakers want to avoid. And that's why Intel's gamble isn't just corporate strategy, it's national strategy. The Biden administration has made semiconductor independence a top economic priority. Billions in federal grants and tax credits are being deployed to create a US-based chip ecosystem. Not just fabs, but also suppliers, engineers, and skilled workers. Intel's Arizona and Ohio facilities are designed to anchor that ecosystem. They're expected to create more than 10,000 jobs and support tens of thousands more in construction and supply chains. It's a bet on American innovation and on rebuilding a manufacturing culture that many thought was gone. But here's the tension. Even with government support, Intel faces brutal competition, and time isn't on its side. TSMC's factories in Taiwan and Japan are already expanding. Samsung is pouring billions into Texas. And NVIDIA, the crown jewel of AI hardware, keeps pushing the limits of chip design faster than anyone else. Intel can't just build factories. It has to leapfrog. That's why CEO Gelsinger talks about 5 nodes in 4 years, a plan to accelerate Intel's production technology faster than any company in history. If he pulls it off, it could rewrite Intel's legacy. If he fails, it could sink it. The stakes couldn't be higher, for the company and for America, because this isn't just a race for profit, it's a race for power. The country that controls advanced semiconductor manufacturing will control the next century of innovation, from AI to quantum computing, from defense to energy grids. Intel once symbolized that dominance. Then it lost it. Now it's fighting to reclaim it. And while the headlines focus on billions of dollars, what's really on the line is trust. The world's trust that the US can make its own chips, design its own future, and stand on its own silicon feet again. So can Intel save US tech power? No one knows yet. But one thing's for sure. The next decade of American innovation depends on whether this $32 billion gamble pays off. And for the first time in years, the world will be watching Intel not for what it once was, but for what it's about to become.